Hey everybody, this is Keith Hancock alongside my partner, confidant and pal, Christine DeVita.
And welcome back to another episode of Behind the Counter. Keith, how are you? How was your week?
My week is kind of scary, you know? Halloween apparently comes in February, and we have a lot of ghosts in our subject headings tonight, but the first thing that I'm kind of scared of is the rising cost of things. I was reading an article in Eater this week or last week that was given to us by our good friend Jack Kopis, who's been on the show.
Yes.
Pertaining to New York City. And as we know, they like to just maintain their status of being one of the most unfriendliest places to do business on the planet. And, you know, it was just talking about how as restaurants get hit from every corner, be it food cost or paper costs, labor costs, and you know, most parts of the country, it's like you have a certain aspect of things. You ever notice that? Like this labor laws might be tough here, but gas is cheaper or whatever.
Right.
New York, you get everything.
There's no balance in New York.
There's no balance in New York. So it was a really good article talking about how restaurants were basically sideswiped by outrageous cost of electric, which generally isn't too much of an issue. You know, they talk about the surprise bill payments that popped up right in the wave of supply chain shortages, rising costs of goods, labor costs, you know, just overhead going through the roof. And this is obviously really hurting the small time restaurant because we know that the big guys are going to be able to muscle through as they always do.
Yeah.
Articles talked about restaurants across the city experience similar unexpected spikes in electricity costs.
A 13.5% increase in Con Ed bills in 2022 for the tri-state area.
That's what it was.
Yep. Which for me is ridiculous.
It's absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. And I mean, I don't know. It's like when is it going to end? You know, probably in 2.5 years.
Who knows if it's ever going to end because it is New York City until we get somebody else in there to govern it the right way. But, you know, you have one case, guy saw a 60% increase in his bill this month or last month when it jumped from $2,800 to $4,500 in January. And his average monthly electric bill, by contrast, in 2021 was only $1,600.
Right.
You know, so it's definitely an issue within the industry. You know, people can't turn around and say that, you know, you're not watching or you're not, you know, managing your restaurant with regards to overhead. I think that's total BS. I think that the rising costs are completely just uncalled for, especially with Con Ed, because like you said, with the rising costs of, you know, cost of goods, labor, and everything else that goes into a restaurant, during COVID, the electric bill or the overhead with regards to utilities just adds more stress on an owner.
And I like the part at the end of that particular article where, you know, they actually kind of brought it to life a little bit more for me, talking about the people, the employees in the restaurant, and how not only does it affect the livelihoods of them in work, but if you live in New York, it's affecting the livelihoods outside of work as well.
Yeah, because it's not only commercial, it's residential as well.
Right. And New York City also has a lot of steam heat condos and apartments.
Yes.
That gets factored into the rent, which with the gas prices are going through the roof.
Yes. I'll tell you this, my electric bill went up considerably.
Last month I got killed. I'll see this month. I think it was coming off of the tail of my Griswold family Christmas lights that I had pumping for December. And they finally did a meter read, but we'll see. But yeah, it spiked up. But enough about that. Enough about me. But it's more concerned about them. I was talking to a manager that I used to work with saying that, you know, some of his employees were actually talking about the raising gas prices and that they literally are going to sleep. They keep their thermostats at 58 and blankets and stuff like that because the gas prices are just so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Which is insane. You know, they want to, it's like they go running around about free healthcare, a problem that they can't solve, never will solve, but they want to give it to you at every other angle. So,
well, Con Ed, of course, wants no blame for it because they only provide the electricity. They don't generate it. Right. So that's them just putting their hands up and going, hey, I can't help you. But you absolutely can, because by you not increasing their prices as a vendor,
right,
then you're helping the cause. But you're sitting there and now you don't want to take any blame for it. You provide the electricity. I get it. You don't generate the electricity, but still, those are your costs going to the customer.
They could at least send a notice out. God,
Do
I mean, if you
something,
could,
communicate. I mean,
yeah, if you're,
PSE&G out in Long Island communicate, lets you know, like your bill is going to jump, a certain amount, a certain percentage because of the rising costs. At least you get that notification. Con Ed, you
yeah.
get nothing.
If you're ever gonna whack me across the head with a one iron, could you please at least yells four first? You know, like you gotta get the heads up. Like, I mean, God, it's essentially what they did.
Oh my God, that's great. I love it.
So,
I call it Keithisms now.
anything else? Anything you've been reading good in the news this week? I've had limited time, so I haven't read too much.
There was an article that I read on ICIMS. Pretty good article, relates to our industry. Ghosting is the scariest trend in recruitment. It was written a couple of years ago, but it still has meaning to this day, right?
Mhm.
So we know, because we own a recruiting company, that ghosting happens. It happens with employers. It happens with candidates. It happens all over the place, right?
Right.
So how can recruiters keep candidates engaged to bypass the ghosting piece of it, right? Candidates prefer to talk positive experience from their job search, but they're chatty no matter what, right? 77% of candidates say they share positive experiences about their job search experience, while 61% share negative experiences. Regardless of how it goes, candidates are going to talk, so give them something positive to say about your brand. It takes two to communicate. Recruiters need to prioritize following up in a timely manner with candidates who didn't get the job. And that right there, Keith, is something
Mhm.
that a lot of recruitment firms don't do,
Right.
right? So once they present a candidate to a client and the client passes, you have about a 1% chance of that recruiting firm or that recruiter reaching back out to the candidate to say, I'm sorry, they passed. So now you just have a candidate sitting there, right? Going, all right, am I moving forward? I mean, anybody would say if you don't hear from somebody after a week, it's kind of like a no-go, so just move on. But
Right.
the key piece is to keep those lines of communication open, because if that candidate isn't the right fit for that one client, what
Mhm.
do we always tell our recruiters? They could be a fit for somebody else that we're
Right.
recruiting for.
Right.
So update your notes in your ATS, have a conversation with that candidate, explain to them, listen, the client did not want to move forward with you, but these are the other jobs that I have in the area. Are these of
Mhm.
any interest to you? And go ahead and shoot them off the details. Because you know what? That one candidate that wasn't that right fit for that client could be the right fit for somebody else. And
Mhm.
they could be happy, the client could be happy, and that's it. That's why it's important to keep the communication piece open, right?
And that's why it's imperative that when you're looking for a job, that you got to have armor skin and not get, even if you get rejected, it just wasn't meant to be,
Right.
you know?
Right.
And everything is the right fit, and it's better you find out then than when you're in there, unless you like job hopping, which most people don't. Even people we talk to who have that on their resume,
Right.
they actually, it's not like they enjoy it. It's just they got a raw deal or something someplace, and I agree, because behind what we do is to try to pair people up. We do, obviously there's the money situation involved,
Right.
and then there's the people situation involved. And I know as well as you, I know we both enjoy when we see somebody get that job that they want,
Exactly. Exactly.
and then checking up 6 months, 8 months, and hear how it's going. And
Yeah. Yeah.
you change lives, jobs change lives, and it's important that it's paired up correctly. And
They actually do. Listen, I will be the first person to say I can't stand texting people, right? Especially when it comes to business. I'm more of an email person and more of a phone person, even Zoom or FaceTime when it comes to our clients or people that we do business with, right? But now texting is so important right now because that's literally the only way you reach people is by texting. So I even think we covered it on our biweekly call with our recruiters that go ahead and text them. You want to communicate, text them. They're, you have a 50-50 shot of them reading their email. It's not like 5 years ago where people hung on their email and they lived by their email day and night. Now
right,
it's completely different. Like email is probably going to become a thing of the past and it's going to be all text generated. So go ahead, reach back out to that person, however you feel comfortable with, but make sure you get in touch with them. And that's also one of the points that we've touched on also with
mhm,
regards to recruiting is that when you are placing a candidate or you're talking to a candidate and you introduce that candidate to a client, right? It is super, super important to keep that line of communication open on both ends. Once you just hand them off to the client, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like sometimes it's in the black hole and you're waiting for them to, go through their process. But the key to this, to not getting ghosted, is to leave that communication piece widely open and just hit them up every single day. That seems to be working right now. We're not having as many people ghost us. So I think it's working. It's texting, unfortunately. And we all know how I feel about that, you know?
Well, it is interesting though that, well, first, correct me if I'm wrong. I think pre-COVID ghosting, that was the term for being stood up on a date, right? And
Yeah,
somehow that kind of like got
it
pushed into the
was.
recruiting world and in other aspects of things.
It was.
But it's like people just ghost interviews like it's a blind date. And I don't know if it's just the way that things are. I had an interesting theory the other day. Like now, if I look at the younger generation of things, the way they operate is they operate through immediate communication via text, right?
Yeah.
So if I say, Christine, I'm going to meet you at the mall, which I don't think kids hang at the mall anymore, at 2 o'clock on a Saturday, at 1:30, if you don't feel like it, I'll just shoot you a text. I'm not going to go.
Right.
But when we were younger, we grew up in an environment where you had to be there, at
Yep.
least to show up and tell the person you were going home. You know what I mean? Otherwise,
Yep.
it was a problem. You thought the person was dead. It
Yep.
was like more of like everything now is just so quick communication. It's just they think that that works. And that is really, if you're going to operate that way when looking for a job, you're really rolling the dice because some employers might be willing to fly with that or go with that rather. And some
Yeah.
no. Some are old school. Some are like, you don't show up on time, you're done, you're on my blacklist, don't even bother again.
And I want to bring up another thing. What's doubly important is your business sells to consumers, right? Whether it's we're doing recruiting services or
Mm-hmm.
it's one of our clients who are restaurants, right?
Right.
Your candidates could be fans of your brand, which is why they want to work for you. By you ghosting them, now you're losing a customer.
Right.
And I don't think anybody thinks about that, right? Because if they're interviewing for a position, let's just say with, I don't know, the Cutlet King of New Jersey, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And they're a huge fan of that place and they love dining there. They take all their friends there. They want to work there. They see a job opening. They go ahead and they interview.
Mm-hmm.
They get ghosted. They're never going there again. I
Right.
wouldn't. Am I
So
wrong?
true. No,
Right?
you're not wrong at all.
So, you want to treat candidates like you would treat a friend or a colleague.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because it's all about networking in our industry, especially with recruiting. I mean, there's candidates that weren't a right fit for a position back in 2021, okay, that I still talk to today. Talk to them about their journey. What are they doing? Who are they working for? I keep in touch with them, whether it's a quick text. And that's so important.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah.
So don't ghost. Be a ghostbuster.
Wow. I love that. I really can't now. Where did that come from?
We're changing our name, ladies and gentlemen. We're changing our name to We Can't Go Ghostbusters because Ghost Busted Recruiting. There you go. Not really. But,
Really, I can't with you. There's no words for that. No words for that at all. But ghosting was a dating term, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
It's still a dating term.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever been ghosted on a side?
No, not really. Catfish, yes. Not
Okay.
ghost.
What is catfish? That's when they steal your picture, right?
No, catfish is when you get like I'm gonna pull it up to explain it the right way.
That's
Catfish is
our listeners need to know this. It pertains to restaurants.
okay.
Because if you're ghosted at a bar, right?
Yeah, ghosting is when they just don't show up.
Yeah.
Right? So you go out there and they're just not there. That's ghosting and dating. Catfish is they use a fake online persona, like you said. They don't take your picture. It's like a fake picture. So you'll see
Mm-hmm.
this smoking hot girl on Bumble, right?
Mm-hmm.
That you know is too good to be true. And it's some picture that somebody took out of a magazine or online, right? And they
Mm-hmm.
just put it as their profile. Or you meet someone who has a picture from like 10 years ago on their Bumble profile or Tinder profile,
Mm-hmm.
and you go and meet them and they're nothing like what they look like in their picture.
Okay.
So now what do? You can't walk away and be a jerk about it. You got to sit there,
would.
you got to have dinner. I mean,
No, I wouldn't.
that happened to me like twice. That
Okay.
happened to me twice. But yeah, Catfishing, well, ghosting has more to do with the business world now than dating, but catfishing is very out there with dating. So there you have it, guys. It's our podcast about dating now.
And if someone is at your bar and they've been ghosted, buy them a shot.
What?
Buy them a shot. If you own the restaurant, buy them a shot.
I know, right? But I mean,
they're going to be sitting there.
What poor soul is going to turn around and say, I was just ghosted?
You can kind of tell. I've seen people where, through the years where you're like, they were stood up or something,
Yeah, that's true.
I've definitely experienced that.
Yeah.
You don't have to ask. You can just tell. That's all about reading the guest, right? Reading the guest, providing an unexpected delight afterwards with something they didn't see coming.
I like how you segued from online dating into the guest world of your restaurant. That was very clever.
Thank you.
Very good. Very good. Very impressed by you right now. It's awesome.
All right, we'll cut that out. Kian, can you throw in the ghost?
He's like, cut that out, man.
So, Christine, as we come to the next portion of our scary episode, Halloween is actually one of my favorite holidays. I don't know if I ever told you that.
I think you have.
Maybe because I was born in October. I don't know.
Be. You were born a couple of days, but what? A couple?
No, October 5th, but it's there.
That's
it's
right.
There. I love the fall. I love when things die. So, no, I'm kidding. Not really, but
wow.
I do love foliage. I love the foliage, not necessarily the death part.
I can't.
But no, I love Halloween. But off to the ghost kitchens and COVID procedures and things that happen. What do you think about ghost kitchens? There's a contactless ordering, delivery. Things are certainly going to stick. We're officially on the third month of 2022.
Yes.
The COVID pandemic is still on.
Yeah.
In everyday reality, but you and I call it, and we're saying it's over anyway. That's kind of so we have like a mixed bag. It all depends on who you're talking to. I think of like in 1910 when automobiles were coming. There were people who wanted to stick to the horse and buggies and said the car thing would never stick. So I guess some people are going to stay on their COVID horse and buggies while we drive by in our Mercedes, and that's fine.
That's it.
But it's over. But in the hospitality, we have to pertain to a lot of different people. But I feel like it's really finally winding down. That was the long-winded way to say that. What do you think?
I think it's over. We're recording this the end of February right now.
Mm-hmm.
I've called it. COVID's over.
Cool.
COVID's done. COVID and its variants are over with. Because there's really, how many more news cycles are you going to have about COVID? Now it's Biden and Russia now.
Yeah, which we'll talk about in another episode.
So, and every time there's a news cycle on COVID, and nobody listens anyway. Like it's just getting to be so played out. Plus, this industry can't be hit in the face with another variant and crazy mandates. But quite honestly, I think if another variant pops up anyway, I think they're just going to go full steam ahead now because all the mandates across the United States are being lifted anyway. In LA, no more mask mandates inside for vaccinated individuals. But what are you going to sit there and check? Hi, can I see your vaccine card? And if you don't have one, you have to put on a mask. Nobody's going to sit there and check that. So that's just ridiculous. They don't do it in Long Island. New York, man, the tri-state, the boroughs, the mask mandate's up for them too now.
Right.
So COVID's done with. I've called it. It's done.
True. Life goes on. Humans always have to adapt in their new way of living. Our daily routine has changed, the way we think and the way we eat as well.
Listen, we kind of live in a state of panic, or we did, and that's why I'm happy for it to be over. Truth be told, situations like these cause a huge psychological discomfort in people. So people become more suspicious.
Yeah. Panic is such a strong feeling, but sometimes to me, feelings aren't always reality, right? So we had physical contact that became dangerous, and we found new ways to communicate. Some of that is delivery services. Online shopping has become more popular. However, people have their endless need to always be around people, in my opinion. It's like saying brick and mortar stores are going to go away. I don't believe that. I think it'll just evolve into something.
I think it will, but I also think that virtual concepts like those ghost kitchens are going to be on the rise as well.
Right.
Because the ghost kitchen shows no signs of slowing down right now.
Mm-hmm. So as the topic of ghosts keep coming up. There's Zool Kitchens, which is a play on that character from Ghostbusters. That's big in New York right now.
Oh, really?
Zool Ghost Kitchens.
Huh. I didn't know that. So, Zool Kitchens, that's a good point indeed. Psychology always plays a huge factor in the way we choose to think and act. Depression as well was increased in young adults. Did you know that?
Oh yeah, it makes total sense. Nobody wants to feel alone, especially young people these days who on a daily basis, well, most of them like to go out for drinks on Saturdays, uh, go to their favorite restaurants, hang out with each other. Although we live in a world of digital communication, there still is that need for the intimacy or the contact with each other, even if it's just go to a coffee bar. Coffee bars prior to COVID were really on the upward swing
Yeah.
because of that reason. Because honestly, kids don't drink like we drink, and they find they find other things to do in social gatherings. As I was reading 2019.
Well, you know what? I mean, a lot of that is true. Most of young adults or the younger generation think eating out is a way to socialize more, right?
Absolutely.
They have fun, they feel more part of a community and part of a group and so on and so forth. So,
Absolutely. I totally agree. We saw it in the way restaurants were being built pre-COVID. Communal tables were becoming a huge thing, communal food halls and things like that. So I totally agree with you, and for people, lunch is more than just a meal, although lunch always kind of was a place to do business and things like that.
Right.
Lunch has evolved more of an outing. Um, and even it used to be prior to that, not only did people want to meet up with friends, but the communal table thing was like to go to a restaurant, eat by yourself, and start to make friends and hang out with strangers. That was the whole concept behind it.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think two companies that I worked for before we opened up D&H, they all had that communal table type of dining, right? There was a huge long communal table, random people and it was just like, it was very normalized, right? Growing up for me, we didn't have communal tables.
Right.
You sat and ate with somebody. If you were by yourself, you sat at a two-top by yourself and everybody was staring at you like, oh.
Yeah, if a stranger sat down, he'd be like, get the out of here, pal. Excuse me. Like, are you kidding me? Would have been, like, smack someone right off the head. Could you imagine now, even if you were sitting at like a long table and someone that you didn't know sat next to you, you'd be like, get the hell out of here. Keep it moving.
Now you're sharing phone charges. You know what I'm saying? And like, hey, pass the ketchup like, you've known them for years. But listen, restaurants, full empty spaces, as best they can. And communal tables are the way to do it, man. Let me tell you something. Plus, it gives you that sense of community.
Right. So, during COVID, we found that there was a need for people still wanting to go together. And even though some cities tried to close down parks and things like that, I know my family was doing this. They were going out on picnics, trying to create their own restaurant experience or their own dining experience.
Okay.
Outdoor eating. I won't say this too loud. I know people who broke the rules and had people over out on their decks and things like that, just because you want to see people, So we had to kind of reinvent that relationship reinvent what that looked like for a time period. And people still wanted it. I actually remember I did a Zoom dinner. We all did Grubhub from the same restaurant, and we Zoom dinnered, like 6 friends of us.
Okay.
And ate in front of computer screens. It seemed like a good idea at the time. I guess I was desperate to hang out with friends, but now I feel like a friggin' mook. Like, what are you doing sitting here eating some lo mein in front of it? I don't know, because now it just feels normal again. But, it's like, but I'm not the only person that I've spoke to that kind of did those things during the pandemic. So there's that ever evolving need for people to dine together, and that's why I think it's great that, or one thing that speaks to our business is we're not going anywhere. It's funny, 2020, you and I both never bet against what we do, right? But we were talking to operators and owners or executives, whoever it was, acting like the industry was just swallowed up and gone.
I know.
And it was like, no, people really, the restaurant business is never going anywhere.
It's never going to go anywhere because it's a means for people to go out, okay, meet people and eat. You need restaurants to survive.
Right.
And as much as bad of a hit as this industry took in 2020, right? A little bit of first half of 2021, it's completely on the rebound now, right? So, the biggest thing that these guys lost was the outdoor seating. But that was just, and I said it in the previous episode, the outdoor seating, that was just an added extra. And once the half of your capacity was gone and you were allowed to have full capacity in your restaurants, that outdoor dining was just an added extra dining room for you.
That's all that it was.
So basically, all you did was make up for lost time in 2020. That's basically what you did, right? And if you played it the right way in 2020 and you went ahead and you capitalized on delivery and got yourself a POS and marketed your restaurant the right way and tailored your menu towards like families and giving out package deals and stuff like that, then you were okay. But the industry is fine now. It's on the rebound. The biggest obstacle for this industry is hiring hourly employees.
100%.
That's it.
People is always the thing.
And I'm going to say it, and I'm going to get it for saying it, but the government made these people lazy. That's it.
And there you have it.
There you have it.
There you have it.
I'm going to get backlash. It's fine.
We'll see. I don't know. Sometimes the backlash on TikTok is fun to read.
But it's true.
Or the banter.
But it's true, man. They gave out stimulus checks. They gave out free money for so long, and everybody became lazy. They were making more money sitting home than they were going out and working. And now you can't get a server or a bartender or a busser or a line cook to save your life now.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah, it's definitely the deep-rooted issues, as we've always talked about and harp on, but they're still there, is labor, supply chain, and those things. And it's just so deep-rooted, it's going to take some time to dig out of that hole. But we will prevail.
Yes.
I have every confidence in us.
We will.
Things are picking up. I am curious. I know we kind of doom and gloom New York City sometimes.
We do.
But, as to my prediction, I said in the other episode, March 1st is coming. Actually, by the time this goes, I think March 1st passed. We are recording this early. I believe, so let's see if I'm right, I believe Biden will use that State of the Union as a platform to save his failing, crashing down a toilet bowl presidency and use that to say that COVID is over and ring the victory bell. And then all of a sudden everything will be fine. But with that aside, I believe that once that happens, New York City is going to open up, because when you think about it, the vaccine mandates, even domestic tourism, Connecticut, Jersey, Pennsylvania, Long Island even, who's not going to the city right now because of the vaccine mandates, the mask mandates, and all that other stuff? You lift that stuff, we're talking office buildings filling up again, parks filling up again, people wanting to use the city. People haven't used what the city has to offer in 2+ years now.
Dude, I haven't been to the city since April of last year. And I was in the city 5-6 days a week pre-COVID.
Yeah. So, I'm in all the time, but it's a great city. I will tell you, I'll never bet against the restaurant business, and I'll never bet against New York City. I don't care.
Listen, I don't bet against New York City, and I'm never ever going to bet against our industry. Mm-hmm. But, I have to say it. New York City is just not the same post-COVID.
Yeah, we'll see what it evolves into.
It's just not safe. But whatever.
I might not love the new mayor, or what's hard to sell. He's too early. I'm not gonna. He's at least give him 100 days.
I think. But
I have since he's been there. I haven't seen anybody take a crap in front of me in Times Square. So that's and it does. The 42nd Street station is a little cleaner. There's something about it, and there is a bigger police presence. So
well, thank God.
But we'll see.
Well, we'll see.
We'll certainly see how it is. It's early on. So with that, I think that brings us to the end. Time to put a bow on it.
Put a bow on it. I love it.
And start to move forward.
Yeah, well, everyone, this concludes another episode of Behind the Counter. Thanks for listening. And don't forget to check us out on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. Subscribe and leave a comment on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. See you next week.
See you next week. Like us on everything. Bye.